At 40 years old, I sat in my car outside a bank that had just rejected my loan application for the 11th time. I had $83 in my checking account, a wife who hadn't spoken to me in 4 days, and a business that was legally, officially, dead. 5 years later, I signed papers that made me a billionaire. This is not a story about luck. This is a story about the one decision I refused to make for 20 years and what happened the day I finally made it. My name doesn't matter. What matters is this: for 20 years, I built the wrong thing. I was 17 when I got obsessed with an idea, a chain of specialty hardware stores, the kind where the guy behind the counter actually knows what a flange coupling is. My father ran one store like this. I wanted 50 of them. By 25, I had 3 stores. By 30, I had 9. By 35, I had 18 stores, 40 employees, and a wife who believed in me more than I believed in myself. I thought I was building an empire. I was actually building a coffin, one nail at a time, and I didn't know it yet. The big box stores came first. Then the online stores. Then a recession that hit small retail like a freight train. I didn't see it, or I saw it and refused to believe it applied to me. I tell myself, my customers are loyal. My service is different. This won't touch me. It touched me. By 38, I'd closed 11 of my 18 stores. By 39, I was refinancing my house for the 3rd time. By 40, I sat in that car outside the bank, and the math simply didn't work anymore. No loan was coming. No investor was calling back. It was over. I need you to understand what 40 feels like when you're starting over. It's not like being 22 and broke, that's expected, almost romantic. 40 is different. 40 is your kids asking why you're always on the phone yelling. 40 is your wife doing the grocery math out loud so you both know exactly how bad it is. 40 is lying awake doing the one calculation that terrifies every man who's built something and lost it. What was it all for? I filed for bankruptcy on a Tuesday. I remember it was a Tuesday because Tuesdays had always been inventory day. Old habits die slower than businesses do. Here's the part nobody tells you about hitting bottom: it's quiet. Not dramatic. Just quiet. And in that quiet, 3 weeks after the bankruptcy filing, my youngest daughter asked me to help her sell friendship bracelets online for her school fundraiser. I set up a simple listing. I wrote a description. I answered a question from a stranger about shipping times at 11 p.m. because I genuinely had nothing else to do with my evening anymore. We sold out in 6 days. Something in my chest moved for the first time in a year. I want to be honest with you about what I realized, because it's not inspirational, it's uncomfortable. I hadn't failed because the economy changed. I failed because I spent 20 years refusing to change with it. I loved the hardware stores. I loved the smell of the back room, the bell on the door, the regulars. I was building something out of love and nostalgia, not out of what the world actually needed anymore. The bracelets weren't the business. The business was this: small makers, all over the country, had no simple way to sell what they made without giving away 40% to some platform that didn't care about them. I'd spent 20 years serving people who walked into a store. What if I served the ones who couldn't? I built the first version in 11 days using a free website template and a name I picked because the domain was $8. I had $81 left to my name, so I couldn't hire anyone. I answered every customer message myself, at 6 a.m., at midnight, on Christmas morning. Month 1, 40 sellers. Month 6, 4,000 sellers. By year 2, we'd taken outside investment, the first check I'd received in 3 years that wasn't a rejection. I want to tell you it was smooth from there. It wasn't. At year 3, a competitor with 10 times our funding tried to buy us out, and when we said no, they tried to bury us instead. I remember sitting across from my old bankruptcy lawyer, the same one, asking him if we'd survive the year. He looked at me and said the same thing he'd said 5 years earlier: I don't know. But I know you're not the same man who walked in here last time. He was right. I wasn't negotiating from fear anymore. I was negotiating from 20 years of scar tissue that had finally turned into instinct. We didn't just survive that year. We tripled. At 45, I signed the papers. Not because a company had bought us, because we'd grown large enough, fast enough, that the valuation made the math undeniable. Billionaire, on paper, in an instant, 5 years after $83 in a checking account. Here's what I actually want you to take from this, because the number isn't the point. I didn't fail for 20 years because I wasn't working hard enough. I failed because I was loyal to an idea instead of loyal to the people I was supposed to serve. The moment I flipped the moment I asked who needs help instead of what do I love, everything I'd learned in 20 years of failure became the exact toolkit I needed to succeed in 5. If you're sitting in your version of that car outside that bank right now, I need you to hear this: the 20 years you think you wasted were not wasted. They were reps. Nobody tells you that the comeback is always faster than the collapse, because by the time you fall, you've already learned everything you need to get back up. You just haven't been asked the right question yet. If this story hit you, subscribe. I tell one of these every week. And tell me in the comments, what's the hardware store in your life that you're loyal to, that you need to let go of?